All right, let's just jump right into it because we have got some massive breaking news that is literally sending shockwaves through the hockey world. Showtime is officially back in Chicago. That's right, Patrick Kane, the guy who practically defined an entire era of modern hockey, is heading back to the franchise where he built his legendary career. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about this blockbuster reunion. We'll look at the contract, dig into the analytics of his recent play, and figure out exactly how he fits into the Blackhawks lineup this season. Let's go.
So let's start with the cold, hard facts. The Blackhawks have inked Kane to a monumental 2-year deal worth $16 million. That means an $8 million cap hit per season. And here's the kicker. It comes with a full no-movement clause. You guys, this is not just some ceremonial one-day contract so he can retire a Blackhawk. Not at all. This is a very real financial commitment from GM Kyle Davidson, basically shouting that the team firmly believes Kane still has elite hockey left in the tank to help push this rebuild forward.
And you know what's really wild? The current face of the franchise was actively pushing for this to happen. Connor Bedard, the generational talent drafted first overall back in 2023, was openly campaigning for this reunion. He straight up told the press how incredible it would be to share the ice with Kane and learn from him, even mentioning how electric that first game back at the United Center is going to be. It perfectly sets up this immediate passing of the torch narrative, right? The architect of the last dynasty passing the keys to the centerpiece of the next one.
Showtime returns to Chicago.
To really grasp the gravity of this move, we have to talk about his connection to the city. When Kane was traded to New York in 2023, it closed a super emotional chapter in Chicago sports. So bringing him back, it validates all that history. Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson put it perfectly, saying that for 16 seasons, Patrick captivated the city with his dazzling skill. This signing is a clear signal that yes, the team is looking to the future, but they are also proudly embracing the absolute peak of their past.
Section 2. A legacy set in stone.
Because honestly, it's pretty easy to get caught up in the current rebuild and forget exactly who is walking back into that locker room. We are talking about a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Just look at this run. Drafted first overall in 2007, catalyst for 3 Stanley Cup championships in 2010, 2013, and 2015. In 2016, he shattered a massive glass ceiling, becoming the first American-born player to win the NHL MVP and the scoring title. And of course, in early 2026, he broke the all-time points record for a U.S.-born player, passing the great Mike Madonna.
Which brings us to this absolutely staggering number, 1,400. That is his career point total heading into this new contract. Think about that for a second. The most crazy part is his efficiency. He reached 1,400 points in just 1,369 regular season games. Keeping up a point-per-game pace over basically 2 decades, especially in today's heavily defensive NHL, that is just breathtaking.
And the trophy case, it's basically overflowing. Rookie of the Year in 2008, the Conn Smythe for playoff MVP in 2013, and that historic 2016 sweep of the Art Ross, Hart, and Ted Lindsay Awards. When you look at all these accolades together, it proves he isn't just a fan favorite doing a victory lap. There is a very real, legitimate argument that Patrick Kane is the greatest American-born hockey player to ever lace up a pair of skates.
Moving on to Section 3, the Detroit Resurgence. Now let's be real, there are definitely skeptics out there. People questioning an $8 million cap hit for a guy who's turning 38 this November. They're asking, is this just an expensive nostalgia trip? Well, let's look at what he just did. Last season with the Detroit Red Wings, Kane racked up 57 points in 67 games. That's a 71-point pace over a full season. And keep in mind, he did this after a major hip resurfacing surgery in 2023. He was still Detroit's 4th highest scorer. The offense? Yeah, it's absolutely still there.
If we dig into the analytics, it gets really interesting to see how his game has evolved as he's gotten older. Check out that percentage of his total points coming from the power play. During his last 3 years in Chicago, 35% of his points were on the man advantage. But in Detroit, that jumped to nearly 39%. As his foot speed is naturally slowed down, Kane is leaning more on his world-class vision and open space on the power play to keep his numbers elite.
But wait, before we write him off as just a power play specialist, let's look at his 5-on-5 production. This is actually kind of shocking. His 5-on-5 average time on ice dropped from over 15.5 minutes back in 2018 down to about 13.5 minutes last year. But his points per 60 minutes? Barely moved. He was at 2.16 in his prime, and last year he was still hovering at 2.03. So the big takeaway here is that even though he's playing fewer minutes, his efficiency when he's actually out on the ice is still insanely good.
Hockey analytics expert Micah McCurdy kind of hit the nail on the head here.
He noted that Kane has mostly bounced back from the injury issues that had people writing him off. Now sure, McCurdy points out his defense isn't great, and he doesn't drive rush offense like he used to. But his elite vision and playmaking, literally passing the puck to someone who can bury it, are completely intact. And frankly, that is the exact skill set Chicago desperately needs right now.
All right, Section 4, lineup fits and power plays. So how is head coach Luke Richardson actually going to use this older, craftier version of Patrick Kane? Well, there's a pretty big elephant in the room. Chicago's young superstar, Connor Bedard, had shoulder surgery in July after a summer skating fall. He's not projected to be back until mid-November. That completely changes the dynamic for opening night. It means Kane is going to have to carry a much heavier offensive load right out of the gate.
Without Bedard, here's how the top 6 forward group is probably going to look. Kane is almost definitely starting on the top line on the right wing. He'll likely be paired with fast young centers like top prospect Frank Nazar, with Roman Kontsarov on the left. The strategy is super clear here. Use Nazar's raw speed to push defenders back and use the extra space to let Kane do his thing, acting as a mentor and setup man, directly helping to develop these young kids.
But man, look at this lineup once Bedard is back in November. This is what Blackhawks fans are literally salivating over. A projected top line of Kontsarov, Bedard, and Kane. You are combining Bedard's absolute generational goal-scoring release with Kane's legendary passing. And by putting Bedard in the middle, it pushes guys like Nazar into a way more comfortable second-line role next to veterans like Tyler Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen. The whole forward group instantly becomes deeper and so much more dangerous.
Now where Kane's impact is going to be felt the absolute most is on special teams. Just look at the massive difference here. Last year, the Detroit Red Wings had the 12th best power play in the league, hitting at 22.6%. And Kane was a huge part of that, grabbing 19 power play points. Meanwhile, Chicago was sitting way down in 29th place at a miserable 16.5%. Kane brings the exact spark they are starving for.
And here's the blueprint to fix it. Imagine a revitalized top unit with Kane on the half wall as the main facilitator. He slows the game down, dictates the flow, and sets up snipers like Bedard and Kontsarov. Then you've got a gritty guy like Bertuzzi parked right in front of the net and a dynamic skater like Bowen Byram quarterbacking from the blue line. All of a sudden, this power play flips from being a major weakness to an absolute nightmare for opposing penalty kills.
Which brings us to our final section, passing the torch.
Look, when you step back from all the stats and the X's and O's, you realize what this $16 million reunion is really about. Bringing Patrick Kane back isn't just about juicing the power play stats or selling out jerseys. It's a bridge between eras. It's about taking the actual DNA of a dynasty, the resilience, the work ethic, the absolute clutch factor of the 2010s, and downloading that directly into the Bedard-led future of the late 2020s. It heals an old wound for the franchise and kicks off a new chapter united together.
So I'll leave you with this. We know the skill is still there. We know he is highly motivated. But with opening night at the United Center right around the corner, the big question is, can Kane's veteran magic actually help Connor Bedard restore the Chicago Blackhawks dynasty? The pieces are officially on the board, and we are going to find out really soon. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you guys in the next one.